Hi friends, yesterday I have discussed with you or addressed you in respect of section 32 subsection 1 of Indian Evidence Act regarding dying declaration. However, finally my video got disconnected as the battery got drained, therefore I could not continue the lecture. Hence today I thought to continue and cover up the many things which I have not covered specifically from the viewpoint of the defense lawyer. As we know that dying declaration is most important document under the Indian Evidence Act which has got weightage, and based on that the conviction is possible without even corroboration from the other independent evidences. Means alone based on the dying declaration conviction is possible and corroboration is not required to be done. Even if such a conviction is awarded, that will be valid. And the corroboration, though it is a rule, however in exceptional cases the judge, if his mind inspires and if he feels that the dying declaration is true and it is reliable, then he can punish or convict the accused. We know that under section 32 subsection 1 of Indian Evidence Act, dying declaration, the word, it is stated that when the statements are made by the person, when a statement is made by a person as to cause of his death, number one, or number two, as to the circumstances of the transactions which have resulted into his death, irrespective of the fact whether he is expecting the death or not. At the time of making such a statement, whether he is under expectation of death or not, that is immaterial at all. And it is also immaterial whether the dying declaration is used for the purpose of civil proceeding or criminal proceeding, or whatever may be the nature of the proceeding. Therefore, the wording used in under section 32 subsection 1 says that when a person makes a statement as to cause of his death or any of the circumstances of transactions which have resulted into his death, when the cause of death is in question, therefore being a defense advocate, he has to attack on the ingredients. He need to check the ingredients of the dying declaration to save his client. Because if the dying declaration is made by a person, for example, ex lady said that she made a dying declaration, she said that her friend was attacked and killed by someone, etc. Then she has not stated anything in respect of her death, or she has not stated anything regarding the cause as to why she got dead. Therefore, be regarded as a dying declaration. Why? Because the wording of the section 32 subsection 1 says that it should shows the or state the cause of the death of that person who made the dying declaration, who is the maker of the dying declaration. It should reveal the cause of the death of the maker of the dying declaration and not of the other person. If X says that Y was killed by someone, then and X person made the statement and that X person died, then that cannot be regarded as a dying declaration, because it does not speak anything in respect of her death or cause of her death. And the cause of death must be in question. That is also most important thing. Sometime being a defense lawyer, they take a ground that the mental position of the person who gave dying declaration, whether it was proper or not, means at that time when the person made the statement, whether that person was of rational mind, whether he was able to understand, because there are two exceptions provided under this, that the dying declaration given by two persons cannot be considered as a dying declaration. Number one, incompetent witness. As we know that there are some provisions in Indian Evidence Act which says that who is competent witness. Therefore, as far as competency of witness is concerned, there is no age limit. Particularly means the witness may be of 6 years or 7 years child, or witness may be of 100 years or 95 years old persons. What is required to be a competent witness, that he should be able to understand the question or nature of question put to him, and he should give the rational answers to those questions. That is the criteria. Therefore, anyone who does not fulfill this criteria, that he is not able to understand the nature of question put to him, and he is not able to give the rational answer to those questions, then such a person, even if give dying declaration, such a dying declaration cannot be treated as a valid, and it cannot be relied upon. For example, a person suffering from mental problem, and while dying, that person is giving the dying declaration. However, defense lawyer has established that before that some treatment was going on, before the death of that person some treatment was going on, and that person was having some mental problem, etc. In that case, the reliability of the dying declaration comes into picture, and it gets some doubt. Therefore, that cannot be relied by the court if it is established from the other evidences like medical certificates and treatment papers, admission of that person in particular hospital, and what kind of treatment was going on. Then such a person cannot give a proper dying declaration, and such a dying declaration cannot be relied. So any person who is incompetent witness, if he makes such a deposition or give dying declaration, then dying declaration, there will be a question mark on such a dying declaration, and the reliability can be always challenged. Another one, if the dying declaration says everything, but means that everything is narrated in the dying declaration, however, that dying declaration does not reveal the cause of death, who killed that person who made the statement, etc. Because that person is saying, I was there at that spot, XYZ was there, but he has not stated anything regarding who has attacked him out of the people who were available there, and why he has attacked him, or at least who attacked him, who killed him, who tried to kill him, etc. If nothing is given, then that dying declaration does not speak in respect of the cause of the death, his death. Therefore, it cannot be relied upon. Likewise, being a defense lawyer, he need to concentrate on many things like, for example, in case of burn injuries, there is already one case laws. In that case laws, it is stated that if the burn injuries are more than 90%, and before the death of that person gives the dying declaration, then obviously, being a defense lawyer, it should be taken into consideration. It cannot be ignored. That is very much important, that a person who got 90% burn injuries, his or her mind will not be able to give such kind of statement, etc. Because that if anybody who got the 90% burn injuries, his mind won't be able to even speak or to give any kind of statement, even to do a gestures, etc. In that case, it is highly difficult to rely on such a dying declaration, because there are probabilities that the dying declaration could be concocted one or fabricated one. Because a man who got 90% burn injuries will never be in a position to even say something or to speak even a single word, etc. In that case, it is very highly doubtful. And in case such a dying declaration is given, then advocate, being a defense advocate, he need to concentrate on this thing, that the burn injuries were more than 90%. Then in such a cases, that person cannot give a dying declaration, and the mind will not be fit in that case. Again, there is already a case laws which says that a lady got 100% burn injuries. Obviously, anyone who got the 100% burn injuries, then such a person will not be able to give the statement. However, her thumb impression was used by a person who recorded the dying declaration. Now think, because what could be pursued to the judge, what is probable and most probable, that can also be evidence, because that feels human tendency can also be considered by the judge while pronouncement of the orders. Whether it is possible or probable, that can also be focused by the judge. See, a person who got 100% injuries, can he give his thumb impression or can he sign? It is highly difficult, it is highly improbable, that a person who got 100% burn will sign the papers or will use the thumb. In that case, it was established by the defense advocate that the thumb was taken of the dead body and that was affixed on the ready-made dying declaration prepared by the relative, etc. Then in that case, he got the acquittal. So such a thing need to be concentrated by the advocate of the defense. Another one, the advocate of the defense side, while conducting such a cases of dying declaration, he need to check out or examine that fact, if the dying declaration is given in the hospital or wherever, that time whether the relative of the deceased, near relative of the deceased were available while giving dying declaration, because the chances of tutoring the dying declaration cannot be ruled out, because the always parents may say to implicate the husband always, because in case if there is a dispute between the husband and the wife, and wife committed suicide and she tried to burn herself, in that case always the parents will always suggest to their daughter to make a statement against the husband so that the husband can be convicted. In that case, this thing need to be focused by the defense advocate, that the presence of the star witnesses and near relative or family members, whether they were present in front of the person while giving the dying declaration, in front of that deceased person who gave the dying declaration, that aspect can be focused, because it is settled law that if the dying declaration is tutored one and the deceased was used as only puppet, and that deceased was used as a puppet and tutored by the relative, in that case that dying declaration does not get any sort of evidentiary value. Now again, being a defense advocate, he has to concentrate on many things, like if there are two dying declaration or more than two dying declarations, then being a defense advocate, what he has to study, that is there any contradiction between the first dying declaration and the second dying declaration. If there is a contradictions and omissions, then whether these are material or not, that need to be checked. If there are material contradictions, if there is a name change, for example, in first dying declaration, the person who gives the dying declaration says that she is attacked by X person, later on she says that she is attacked by Y person. Likewise, timing and against whom she is making allegation, nature of allegations, changes in the name of the person, etc. Such a material contradiction need to be focused by the advocate of the defense, because such contradictions will help him to acquit the accused. As criminal law says that the prosecution has to prove the guilt beyond the reasonable doubt, and there is also presumption of innocence. Then every accused shall be treated as innocent unless and until the guilt is proved beyond the reasonable doubt. Whereas in civil cases also a dying declaration could be used, but the nature of proving, extent of proving is not like beyond the reasonable doubt in case of civil matter. It is only preponderance of probabilities, because the dying declaration can be used in civil matters like for will and also for accidental cases, etc. Because the wording itself says that whatever may be the nature of the proceeding, means civil or criminal. And many more things which I would like to once again state here before you, that the dying declaration recorded by magistrate will have much weightage, whereas the dying declaration recorded by the police officer has got less weightage, and dying declaration recorded by doctor also got less weightage, because that is the thinking of common people, that magistrate generally will not commit a mistake. Magistrate is the responsible person, therefore he has got responsibility, therefore dying declaration recorded by magistrate will have some extra advantages, whereas dying declaration recorded by police officer will not be having that much evidentiary value. Likewise, we see that section 25 of the Indian Evidence Act says that a confession given by the accused to the police officer is not admissible. Why? Because why the framer of the law, why the draftman of this Indian Evidence Act must have thought in that way, because police use force. Therefore, the chances of compelling the accused to make statement against himself cannot be ruled out. Therefore, the statement given to the police officer cannot be relied, cannot be admissible normally. Section 25 you see. However, in special cases like Mocha etc., if the statements are given to a police officer who is not below the rank of DCP etc., then that will be having, that is admissible, that is exceptional cases, because there is a wording used, non-obstante clause, notwithstanding anything contained in this law or any other law like evidence. In that case, that is only exceptional cases. Therefore, a dying declaration recorded by a magistrate will have much weightage, and dying declaration recorded by a police officer will have less weightage. Likewise, the dying declaration can be recorded by even by doctor or by nurse or any relative etc. Whoever, any person who is available at the time of death of that deceased, can record the dying declaration. It is not necessary always that it should be recorded by magistrate only. Whoever is available can record the dying declaration. As we already discussed, that the dying declaration, even it could be oral dying declaration, it can be dying declaration by conduct also, it can be in the written form also, it can be even letters. So sometimes what happens, letters or suicide note is written by the lady and thereafter she committed suicide, that letter can be treated as a dying declaration. Sometimes there is also case laws. I already discussed you, the name of the case laws is K. Ramachandra's case. In that case, a person gives a statement to the police to register FIR that he was beaten by someone. Thereafter, after 2 or 3 days, that person has died. Thereafter, that FIR which was registered 2 or 3 days back was considered to be a dying declaration. In such a cases, even FIR can also be treated as a dying declaration. However, now contrary things are also possible. For example, suppose X person gives the statement to the police that XYZ person has tried to kill him. Thereafter, after 2 days, he gave a dying declaration. FIR is registered. Thereafter, he was admitted in the hospital, and after 2 or 3 days, he gave a dying declaration at the time of his death. In that case, being a defense advocate, he has to focus on the contradictions in the FIR registered and the dying declaration. He need to find out the contradiction between these two, FIR and the dying declaration. That will be useful to him. As we already discussed that the dying declaration, there is no particular prescribed format within which a dying declaration should be recorded, because it can be oral dying declaration, it can be by conduct also, it can be in the written form. Therefore, there is no particular format in which the dying declaration should be recorded. Dying declaration could be later, dying declaration could be recorded even in the manner of question and answers. Who killed you? Why killed you? By which weapon? And apart from that, any other persons, what is the reason, etc. The question answer, normally dying declaration is recorded in the question and answer forms. However, it can be recorded in the format of paragraph also, like a letter also. There is no particular hard and fast rule, particular mandate regarding this. It can be in any form. It is flexible. It depends upon the case to case, and it may vary case to case. The principle behind dying declaration is that the person who is going to die, truth lie on his lips, because it is stated that a person who is going to die will not lie. Therefore, in Radha Swami's case, it is also laid down that truth lies on the person or lip of the person who is going to die, and it is presumed that he is not lying and he is telling the truth and the realities only. Therefore, because of that reason only, because of this philosophy only, dying declaration is admissible, and dying declaration is substantive piece of evidence. Based on this dying declaration, the person can be convicted, and there is no need of corroboration from the other evidences, etc. Sometimes corroboration is the rule, because if dying declaration is not reliable, there are some doubts or contradiction, etc. In that case, obviously, court will check the other evidences also, and court will try to corroborate the evidences, etc. Because in that case, without corroboration, conviction is not possible, because the prosecution has to prove the guilt beyond the reasonable doubt. However, if the dying declaration is very perfect and it is speaking only truth, it is recorded by magistrate or even by doctor, and there are no doubts, there is no doubt at all, then it is credible. In that case, based on that dying declaration only, a judge can pronounce the conviction, and he is not required to do corroboration. And that is not a law. Law does not say that corroboration has to be done in every case and all cases. As I already stated to you that this section 32 subsection 1 is one exception to section 60 of the Indian Evidence Act. Section 60 of the Indian Evidence Act says that any evidence should be in the primary form, primary evidence. Like a person who saw something has to come to the court, he has to become witness, he has to say that he saw the thing. If any person heard or perceived by his senses, then he has to come, because that person can be examined in the court of law. However, in this case of dying declaration, a person who gives the dying declaration, he dies. Thereafter, that person will not be available for cross-examination. Only the letters written by him, either in the written form or oral form, that will be a dying declaration, that has to be proved. If he has made a statement to a person that XYZ person has killed him, then that person will be examined by the defense advocate. Cross-examination will be conducted of that person only, because the person who says that will not be available for cross-examination purpose. Though it is exception to section 60 of the Indian Evidence Act, however, a dying declaration recorded under section 32 subsection 1 is very substantial piece of evidence, strong piece of evidence, reliable and credible, based on which the conviction is also possible. Now, second part of the dying declaration is also very much important. That second portion of the dying declaration wording says that when a statement is made by a person as to cause of his death, that is number one, then or as to any of the circumstances of the transaction which resulted in his death. As yesterday I also said to you, there is a case of Pakala Swami's case, in which it was said that there were circumstances of the transactions which resulted into the death of that person who gave the dying declaration, and based on that the person was convicted. That case laws already I discussed with you, that a person gave money, he was a money lender, he gave the money to, he lended the money to someone. That person who borrowed the money was not returning his money. Thereafter, the time for which the money was given, that is over. Therefore, the borrower has not returned the money to the lender, and there was a dispute going on between the borrower and the lender. Therefore, the lender has told his wife that there is a dispute going on between him and the borrower, and the borrower has called him to come to his village because he is going to return the amount. In that case, he told this, he narrated the story to his wife. Then he went to the village of the borrower to get his money back. Then he did not return back because he was murdered and his body was cut in 7 pieces, and that was kept in a trunk. Now that person did not give any sort of dying declaration in the written form, obviously. Now this transaction, circumstances of the transactions were considered to be a dying declaration, Number one, he gave a statement to his wife that there was a dispute going on between him and the borrower, and he is going to get the money back from that one. Number one. Number two, the trunk within which the 7 pieces of the body was kept, the trunk was purchased by a friend of the accused on behalf of the accused. Number two. Number three, there were some witnesses that who saw that there was a dispute between the borrower and the money lender. Number four, that there were evidences that the money lender has given the money to the borrower. From these circumstantial evidences, it was established that the borrower has committed the murder, and these circumstances were treated as a dying declaration, because whatever that person has narrated in the oral form to his wife before his death, that was considered, apart from the other evidences, these were considered as a circumstances of the transaction which have resulted into his death, and which is coming within the four corners of the definition of the dying declaration, and that person was convicted. And I have also discussed one case law which I am going to repeat once again here, that in Queen Emperor's case, a throat of the girl was cut down, and before her death she gave us, because she was unable to speak, therefore she has moved her head by nodding, and she said that particular person, by gesture she said that particular person, XYZ person, has committed her murder. In that case, the gesture were considered to be a dying declaration, because she was not able to speak, her throat was cut. In that case also, the man who committed the murder was convicted. That gestures were considered as a dying declaration. So already, because what law says that dying declaration could be in the written form, it could be in the oral form, it could be even by gestures, and there is no particular form within which it should be written, and there is also not particular law that it should be recorded by a particular person only. It can be recorded by anyone. However, its evidentiary value depends upon who records it and under which circumstances the dying declaration is recorded. As we have discussed many things, now I have covered many of the portions. One more thing I would like to add here, that a dying declaration was given by a lady, and the dying declaration was recorded in two languages. One is Kannada and another Urdu. There was also no question of law, means there was no question was not raised whether the dying declaration is given in two languages, whether it is reliable or not. Court held that it is valid dying declaration though it is given in two languages or several languages. So once again, I'm going to say you thanks as you are hearing to me. Today we have covered the remaining portion of the dying declaration, as yesterday I could not cover the remaining as battery of my mobile was got some problem. Hence today I thought to finish the lecture. And so what is the conclusion? That dying declaration is very masterpiece of the evidences, and that can be, if that is relevant, that is credible, and it is admissible in the Evidence Act, based on which the conviction is possible. However, corroboration can also be done. There is no particular format, there is no particular person who should record it, and alone based on the dying declaration, conviction is possible. And this is strongest evidence. This can be admitted. So we have covered many things. Hope that if you see or watch my two videos, yesterday's video and this video, you will get the ideas, and your concepts will be very much clear about the dying declaration. I'm very much thankful to you once again. Hope that you are enjoying my lecture, and I shall be continuing my lectures on other topics of law. Thank you very much.